Thinking about going to Iguazu Falls, the largest waterfalls of the world, and not quite sure if you should go to the Argentinian side, the Brazilian side, or both. We went to both, and this video has a lot of different tips to make your Iguazu Fall experience memorable. Hi, I'm Migs.
And I'm Nate.
We visited the Iguazu Falls and are going to talk all about that. I'm just going to say Iguazu Falls because I cannot remember the Portuguese side versus the Argentinian side.
So Puerto Iguazu is on the Argentinian side and Foz de Iguacu is on the Brazilian side. And we visited both.
We started off on the Brazilian side. We stayed in a hotel, and across the hotel was a bus stop that went straight to the falls, but it was over 100 degrees. The bus stop didn't have any shelter. It was hot. So we opted to just take an Uber.
So once we arrived at the falls, the experience was actually very well organized. I think this might have been Migs' favorite part of the whole thing. The structure and the organization of the experience. So the kiosks to buy the tickets, and then there was a queue that everyone would line up, and it would tell you the entry time that they were admitting people for. So you knew kind of like how long of a wait you had in the queue. And then there were buses at the front of the line that were taking people to the falls themselves. So you just walk through the queue, and then eventually you get on a bus and then brought up to the falls. There's really only one main hike or one main trail that everyone follows. So it's pretty easy to do. It's maybe an hour, depends how long that you stop and take photos, but an hour to 2 hours. And you can't get lost. There's only one path. Even though there's a lot of people, the walkways are pretty wide, and you can take lots of pictures and get great views of the falls in many locations.
And not only do you get views of the falls, you also get views of some really cool little animals that look like monkeys, but they're not monkeys. We saw one in the cafe that tried to steal a baby's pacifier and suntan lotion. So that was really cool, because then you just saw them going everywhere.
You need to be on guard. They will take stuff from you, so be aware of them and don't feed them. They might come up to you, but they're interesting to see, but don't go up to them trying to take close-up pictures and feed them.
The actual falls themselves, they were so big. We both have been to Niagara Falls, and this is 3 times as big or wide. At first you sort of see a little bit of them and you're like, oh, this is nice. And every additional step you took, you could see more and more until finally you're literally under the falls. And that was something that I wasn't expecting. And it was, as I said, 100-something degrees out that day. So it was great because we got soaked and it was so refreshing.
Yeah, all the research that we had done said that the Brazilian side isn't as impressive, and we got way more than we expected. It was a great experience. Going under the falls was super cool. Everyone was just sort of giggling, in a way that it's like everyone's a kid again, and it was just really fun to be there in that atmosphere for a while.
The falls are gorgeous. It was so much fun to just take it all in, and there are a lot of times that you want to capture everything with your camera, but put the camera down, take this all in, because they're so vast, and it's just magical and wonderful. But it's not just about the falls. There's also a little museum that gives you a little bit of history about the falls.
As for the town of Foz de Iguacu itself, there's really not a centralized town for you to visit. There are a lot of resorts. It's somewhat similar to a Las Vegas, where there's a lot of just specialized sort of production shows.
The resort tends to be your destination. Like the one we were at, there was a pool party every day. It was a DJ, there were families. It's definitely a place that having a car would be helpful. After seeing the Iguazu Falls in Brazil, we made our way over to Argentina. It couldn't have been any easier. We just took a cab. We asked the hotel staff, hey, we're going to Argentina. What's the best way? They basically told us that they could call a cab for us. This cab in particular had to have a special license to cross the border with us. And we basically just crossed the border and showed our passports. The cab driver took care of most of it. There was one point that we had to go into the Brazilian side and show our passport, and the cab waited for us. There is an option of doing that with the bus, but with the bus leaves and then another bus comes and picks you up.
We do recommend going through a taxi that's organized through the hotel. It made it really convenient for us. I think it was maybe $20 or $25 to take that trip. And, it was pretty affordable compared to other options that we had looked at, and it makes the whole process way more convenient.
Visiting the Iguazu Falls on the Argentinian side was not hard at all. We walked to a bus that leaves, I think, every 15 minutes or so, and the first one is at 7 in the morning or something like that. And it was a pretty easy ride. It just took us to the falls directly.
Yeah, I like that we were on the bus that most of the employees were taking to go to the falls, so we saw a lot of people in their falls employee uniforms.
You'll hear people say it takes 20 minutes, it takes 40 minutes. It's a bus, so it's going to take what it takes based off of who gets on and off the bus, but it is going to have a lot of stops. But you are the last stop, so you don't have to worry about missing.
Once we got to the falls there in Argentina, because we got the early bus and we were there, first thing in the morning, there were no lines. We were able to get our tickets pretty quickly. This is sort of a preview about our experience in Argentina overall, but we recommend using your credit card as much as possible. You may have heard other advice in the past, but now credit cards really are on par with using the blue dollar rate and cash in Argentina. Unfortunately, we did need cash in Argentina for the falls.
The credit card machine didn't work, so we had to use cash, but we were able to use our card inside when we went to the cafe for a cold beer.
You're going to want to plan out your trip to the falls here because there are more trails, and you're going to need to decide how you want to spend your time. When we were visiting, the upper trail was actually closed or partially closed due to damage to the Devil's Throat part of the walkway. So unfortunately, we didn't get that full experience.
Because the third upper trail was closed, we didn't spend that much time going through the other ones. So on the Brazilian side, you're looking at the falls directly, and then at one point you're under them. In the Argentinian side, the falls are kind of under you, or you kind of see them to the side. So it is a different view. There is a little train that takes you to the different trails.
I thought you had to take the train to get to the start of the lower circuit and upper circuit trails, but it turns out we could have walked just as quickly as the train I think brought us there. It was very slow. So it was fun to do once, but I would say it's easily walkable, and we walked back instead of taking the train back. The walkways for the upper circuit and the lower circuit, they're much different than on the Brazilian side. They're metal pedestrian walkways and bridges, and they're more narrow. So even though there weren't as many people the day that we went, we got stuck behind some crowds a few times because it was harder to bypass people if they were stopping to take pictures. The upper circuit is much more sort of in the woods, and you go over some of the falls and sort of the rivers as they're collecting the water to be dumped out over the falls. And then the lower circuit, you get much more of the panoramic views where you get to see sort of the whole scope of the falls and that river area. And that was really beautiful to see. Which one did you like better?
I don't remember which one I liked better, but I remember what I liked the most.
Okay.
We saw monkeys in the wild.
Yeah.
Oh, first we saw one monkey, then we saw two monkeys, then we saw a lot of monkeys. So that was really fun.
Coming at us.
And these did not try to steal anything from us.
No, I think they were out for feeding time. It was early in the morning, and we caught them at a good time. It was fun.
Yeah, we caught a mama monkey with the monkey on its back. Oh, it was so cute. So that was my favorite part. Not that the falls weren't beautiful, but it was very exciting to see all of those monkeys.
So we weren't sure how much time to allot for doing all of these walking trails within the park. We ended up doing the upper circuit and the lower circuit in just a couple of hours. Now, part of that is because the full Devil's Throat part of the trail was closed, but that gave us the opportunity to explore the Macuco Trail, which is not a view of the falls. It's really just a hike in nature, in the woods. And I actually loved that part of it, maybe the most. Seeing the falls was great. I actually liked our experience seeing the falls on the Brazilian side more. So on the Argentina side, I really liked the Macuco Trail because it was quieter. There weren't as many people. We were able to kind of get away and have a nature hike to ourselves. And we saw a lot of nature there. So there were cool little insects and ants and butterflies and more monkeys.
I had a butterfly land on my shoelaces, and she was there for a very long time. We became best friends. We had a whole deep connection.
We were also surrounded by cicadas.
They're so loud.
We were wondering the whole time, like, what is that noise? And I thought it was cicadas, but then I don't think I got a great photo of one, but we were able to spot some individual ones on the different leaves and tree trunks and stuff, and they are huge.
There's a lot of nature, but the reason you do this trail was that at the end there's a little, very cute little tiny waterfall. If you're going for the waterfall, you're going to probably be disappointed. Mm-hmm. It's like an hour walk one way. So don't go excited to see the waterfall, go for just the walk. After doing that trail, we were ready to head back to the hotel, but there was a little museum, had information about jaguars, which was really cool. It's worth stopping by.
We stayed in Puerto Iguazu for a couple of days, and this one does have a small sort of town center. There are a couple of streets that have a lot of breweries and outdoor dining and stuff. There's not a lot, I think, to do, but there's at least places to go out and eat and have drinks, and it seemed like the nightlife was pretty lively.
We ended up just going to the falls on the Argentinian side for one day. Sometimes you hear people go back a second day, so they may stay in the town for longer. For us, we ended up doing it all in one day. Maybe when you're watching the video, maybe the Devil's Throat is open. If you are going to stay a couple of extra days, there's definitely enough restaurants and bars to keep you busy.
Okay, so now that we've talked about the Argentina side and the Brazilian side, which one do we actually like best? Which one do we recommend that you go do? Well, I'll let you go first.
I like the Brazilian side. That whole experience was better, and especially because it was so hot and we got soaked, but then dried off because it was really hot. Like, you got to be a part of the falls with a whole bunch of different people, and everyone's just getting wet. It's just such a beautiful community experience that I did not get on the Argentinian side. So I vote for the Brazilian side. But do both if you can.
Yeah, I think that's the easy answer, is it's better to do both if you can, if you have the opportunity to do that. But, you know, if we have to pick one, I think I would pick the Brazilian side as well. And, you know, it's funny because that's, I think, contrary to the popular belief and the popular wisdom, but that's also our style, is to go against the grain. So I think being in the waterfall is an experience that you just don't get on the Argentinian side. Maybe that's different if the Devil's Throat is open. We didn't get to experience that. But the Brazilian side gave you everything I think you could ask for from a visit to the falls. You get to see great views of the whole, like, panoramic scale, and then you get to be really inside, a part of the falls. So fewer crowds, good views, a once-in-a-lifetime experience to be under the waterfall. I thought that was the better waterfall experience on the Brazilian side.
The Brazilian town had more things to do. You had the mall, you had all these different shows, you had different restaurants, different resorts.
I liked the Puerto Iguazu town more because of the breweries and the brew pubs that were there. But if you're planning a family vacation, the Brazilian side is probably a better option for that. One of the things that I noticed as we were visiting both sides of the falls was that it's primarily Spanish and Portuguese speakers, but not a lot of Americans, not a lot of Europeans. And it really reminded me that, you know, we were getting an experience that a lot of people don't have the opportunity to take, or don't make the time to go visit a place like this. And so for us, it was a really special experience, and if you are considering it, it is worthwhile.
Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. It helps support us. And also be on the lookout. We have a couple of other videos that we're going to have that are just the scenic views of the fall, so you'll get to experience it for yourself and see which of the two you would want to go to. Now I'm going to start off the video saying that the Argentinian side is
under repair? Damaged?
What's it called? I already forgot. Okay, I'll do that again. But that was good. That was good. Just be you. Just be you. Just follow me.
Yeah, I got it.
Stop it! Stop it!
Oh, I thought you were yelling at me.
You weren't doing anything. Why would I?
That's usually why you're yelling at me.
Yeah. Go stop the video!